Mr. President, I rise to speak today about the greatest domestic policy train wreck that we've seen in my lifetime, a fundamentally flawed law that is holding back our economy and limiting people's freedom when it comes to choices in health care. Of course, I'm talking about the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. Obamacare was the creation of a Democratic supermajority that crammed Obamacare through Congress without open debate by the American people. In the last 5 years since Obamacare became law, the American people have not yielded in their strong opposition. In fact, today, more than a majority of Americans continue to disapprove of this law, and there's no wonder why. When I'm back home in Georgia, Mr. President, one of the most frequent and sobering concerns I hear about is the insidious negative economic impact of this law. The consequences of Obamacare are hurting Georgians in many ways and millions of Americans. First, the individual mandate is forcing people onto Obamacare whether they can afford it or not. Like my wife Bonnie and I, many people have had their insurance plans actually canceled, lost access to their preferred doctors, or were forced onto insurance plans that cost more, not less. In Georgia alone, dozens of Obamacare plans are expected to have double-digit rate hikes this next year, with some people's plans skyrocketing over 60%. That's just unacceptable. Second, Obamacare's employer mandate is causing small businesses to cut back workers' hours, and in some cases, businesses have actually stopped hiring completely. Due to the 30-hour work week rule inside Obamacare, many people are being forced to move to full-time or part-time, or from full-time to part-time work. This is devastating to families already struggling to get from payday to payday. Without a full work week, many moms and dads are juggling multiple part-time jobs to provide for their families and try to save for the future. Next year, for example, 2.6 million people are in danger of having their hours cut because of Obamacare. 60% of those individuals are female, and over 60% are the young first-time workers between 18 and 35 years of age. Third, Mr. President, given the growing aging population, Obamacare is contributing to a dangerous doctor shortage. The Association of American Medical Colleges is predicting a shortage of as many as 90,000 doctors by 2025. Another survey by the Physicians Foundation found that 81% of doctors describe themselves as either overextended or at full capacity, and 44% said they plan to cut back on the number of patients they see, retire, work part-time, or actually close their practice to new patients. Ultimately, Obamacare is raising costs, not lowering them, cutting workers' wages, not growing them, decreasing access, not expanding it, and making it harder on the middle class, not easier. While the sentiment of the Supreme Court on Obamacare is still to be determined, one thing is crystal clear. Obamacare is hurting people and our economy. It must be fully repealed and replaced. We've got to stop allowing Washington to dictate what's best for individuals and their families. Putting bureaucrats between patients and their doctors, between patients and their insurance provider, and between doctors and the insurance providers is what created this catastrophe in the first place. Obamacare was wrong from the start. We've seen the growing unintended consequences of this flawed law in its implementation over the last 5 years. We now have the power to change course and create a better health care system for all Americans. I remain committed to using every tool at our disposal to repeal Obamacare. Achieving consensus on replacing Obamacare with a patient-based alternative will require diligence and robust debate. I'm hopeful that we can achieve that goal. I urge my colleagues to continue to work to not just fight against Obamacare, but to fight to protect the millions of people that are hurt by it every day. We can create a health care system that offers American people affordability, transportability, and yes, insurability. We can create common sense health care policy that lowers costs and doesn't harm the economy like Obamacare. And yes, we can create a bipartisan solution that helps people by putting patients first and getting Washington out of the way. It won't be easy, but it is achievable. It must be achievable for the sake of our kids and grandkids, We must do this. We must get rid of Obamacare once and for all. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.